This is the video where I get vulnerable and I explain how these fires have absolutely altered my life. The fires burning out that door at the Grand Canyon are now considered the largest wildfire in the United States. The local news, Williams newspaper, has been writing articles about this. I've been interviewed by Williams newspaper, ABC 15 in Phoenix, Fox 10, and here we can see newspaper articles have been coming out about these fires. How the Grand Canyon's North Rim made me a true Arizonan. Yet, we're finally getting the major news outlets to report on this. I've yet to see the big ones like CNN and Fox News do much reporting on these fires. You guys tell me if you guys are catching that on the big cable nationwide news. The fire is a huge deal to me. Obviously, you can see my photos, you can see my videos. I've been greatly affected. And the people who work at the Grand Canyon National Park, these are some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. The firefighters, the wildland firefighters, especially here in northern Arizona, some of the gutsiest, bravest people I've ever met in my life. Here in northern Arizona, we have these high elevations. It's very different than Phoenix, where you get central Arizonan, Sonoran Desert, saguaro cactus. Northern Arizona is like this pocket of pines and conifers, and it's a place where people from all sorts of backgrounds meet, especially in the national parks. You'll get people from the tribes mixing with different outdoorsy people and folks who've dedicated their lives to studying things like geology, hydrology, biology, ecology. They're all kind of coming together here in northern Arizona. What I've realized through these fires is I'm in the perfect place to document and report this to you. Having my business that I created completely annihilated by the fires, I'd say 95% of my possible revenue for the rest of the year is gone. I'm going to have to dissolve the business. So I'm in a place where I don't have an employer or somebody telling me that I can't run my mouth about this. Whereas most of the NPS, USGS, most of these people that work for these big entities are being told not to speak publicly about it yet. And I've been checking the news. I check the news and I'm looking for quotes on experts almost every day, and I'm not seeing them. And that's what prompted me on my Instagram and on my Facebook to start posting photos that I took myself and taking whatever quotes and information I could find from my research, or some of the firefighters that are speaking anonymously. More and more people. I've had friends that I've been able to interview. They've just asked to remain anonymous for fear of effects from their employer. So my personal story, let the historians know that I operated the last small business to operate on the north rim of the Grand Canyon. There's about 5 companies very much directly affected by the fire. And I'm also going to say the people who lost their possessions in the fire, nobody died. However, some people had to get out last minute and lost everything. Those, they're up there, the most directly affected folks. Yet you also need to realize this is a national park. All the structures inside the national park are owned by the United States government. Nobody lost a house that they owned. They lost the possessions in it. They lost their house because maybe they lived there for decades. Yet nobody lost an actual house that they own. There's 5 companies. The Lodge, you have Jacob Lake, you have the Mule Rides, you have my company, and you would have the Trans Canyon Shuttle Company that owns the Kaibab Lodge, which they are fighting to save the Kaibab Lodge right now. That fire is moving into the meadows. And those are the giant images you're seeing with the plume, the big pyrocumulus cloud above it. So out of 5 companies, I had the smallest company. I'm a one-man company. I built this company in this house, and I wanted to create a company that was being the change that I wanted to see. I had worked for giant corporations at the Grand Canyon. I had seen companies be bought out by bigger and bigger corporations in my time at the Grand Canyon. I wanted to create a company that gave the guests a great experience, that I wasn't having to refund people, that I wasn't having all these complaints online, and I did it. I ran the whole company. This whole structure and all these videos you see, these are all solar powered. I started by making t-shirts. So my Grand Canyon shirts, they're all 100% cotton. I would go into gift shops at Grand Canyon. Everything is petroleum based. I said, well, these people are saying that they're all about the environment and all about preserving nature, but they're selling you clothing that's made from petroleum, which that is, every time you wash those clothes, that leads to all the microplastics flowing out to our waterways. That's one of the biggest contributors to plastics in the water. I held on to a job until last year. I held on to my day job. And last year, about 1 year ago, I was finally able to quit all my other side hustles, day job, and just focus on running my company. It had become that about 95% of my revenue was shuttling hikers to the north side of the Grand Canyon or bringing them back. On July 12th, 13th, when we got word of the North Rim Village being burned down, that is when the news sunk in that my company would be destroyed. So I took it upon myself. I said, well, how many times do you find yourself smack dab in the middle of history, right? I now didn't have a job. I didn't have anything to do every day. That first week was spent sort of trying to understand what was happening, trying to let that sink in. And that first week was spent a lot of time with friends and dropping clothing and food and sort of just being with the community. And then I decided to go out with my camera and start documenting everything I could, as thoroughly as I could. I could see it. Weeks ago, I could see that this was going to be a historic fire that people will be talking about hundreds of years in the future. We're losing this green pocket. If you look on Google Maps, this is a green pocket on the north side of the Grand Canyon that we are losing. And you don't get too many of those. It's a green pocket surrounded by a whole lot of red rock and desert. But it was green because it's 8,000 to 9,000 feet above sea level. These burns are so hot, they are absolutely destroying the forest. So I'm essentially at the point that I'm going to beg you guys to share this video. I've had over 1,000 new followers come in. I've had hundreds of thousands of views throughout the past month as I have been posting. And I can see it is working. I can see you guys are interested in the environment. You guys are interested in these kind of things. But I am begging you to like this video. I think it's over there. Like this video, whichever side it is, and follow and share this video, because if I can't make the video and photo thing work, I'm going to have to go back to working for one of these giant corporations. I've applied to work for the Park Service multiple times, no interview. I've applied to work for Grand Canyon Conservancy over 4 times, no interview. I've worked with Spielberg. I've worked with Jon Favreau. I've worked with David Fincher. I've worked with Clint Eastwood. I have a massive amount of experience working with some of the masters of cinematography. Yet I cannot find a connection or a producer for these documentaries I want to make. So please get me out there, world. This is my Alexander Hamilton moment of Alexander Hamilton having that hurricane destroy his island in the Caribbean. This is my moment where I am asking the world for help. Please share this.